Aaron.
Yeah.
Why didn't you say it the first time I said Aaron?
Because it's pronounced Aaron.
You done messed up, Aaron.
Aaron is here. Welcome back, everybody, for more SPTV, where every day is a great day not to be in a cult. Okay, guys, we have an update in the story of the Scientologist-run company and potentially future stock exchange called the Dream Exchange. This is a company run by Joe Cicala, a prominent, I would say wealthy, but it turns out he's actually broke. So I will say a prominent, large donor to the Church of Scientology in Chicago. In fact, it turns out that Joe Cicala and his company, Dream Exchange, has actually, per many reports, been one of the primary financial supporters and one of the main reasons the Church of Scientology in Chicago is even able to continue on because of the financial support of Joe Cicala. It is now in question whether this financial support is out of the funds that personally belong to Joe Cicala or whether he has been misappropriating investor funds for his company, Dream Exchange. Joe Cicala's son is the executive director of the Church of Scientology in Chicago. That makes Joe Cicala's son the most senior Scientologist in all of Chicago. And well, so where do we leave this story last? The Wall Street Journal announced that there was an SEC investigation into Dream Exchange. Dream Exchange was also expecting the SEC to make a decision on its application, on Dream Exchange's application for a license to operate as a stock exchange. That is seeming less and less likely at this point. The Wall Street Journal had made reference to an SEC whistleblower. That whistleblower was not identified. It does appear as if that whistleblower has now come forward. That is where we are going to begin the story for this video. Here we have Jeffrey Farrell. That's how I am pronouncing it. I'm going to pronounce his last name just like I would say Will Ferrell's name. Is it Farrell? Is it Farrell? We'll never know. No one can know. But anyway, we're going to call him Jeffrey Farrell. So we can see here that for just over 4 years, as we scroll down on his LinkedIn page, he was the public outreach manager at Dream Exchange. Okay. Well, just yesterday, Jeffrey Farrell put up a post on LinkedIn. A dream turned real life nightmare. And I am going to share with you the full text of this post. What's incredible is that, you know, guys, I do Scientology content, Scientology videos, Scientology stories every day. Do you notice that when I do a Scientology story, it seems like I either personally know every single person the story is about, or the story involves people that I personally know? That holds true with today's story. I've never personally met Joe Cicala or any of his family members, but just wait until you see who is involved in this story. All right, here is what Jeffrey Farrell posted. The Dream Exchange, a lie built on racial exploitation, financial fraud, and Scientology indoctrination. 5 years ago, I believed in a vision, a stock exchange called the Dream Exchange that aimed to level the playing field for underrepresented founders and communities, particularly Black entrepreneurs seeking access to public capital markets. I wasn't just an early believer, I was deeply invested, financially, emotionally, and professionally, in helping to launch the first minority-owned stock exchange. I helped secure investments from dozens of people, ranging from $5,000 to six figures. These were individuals who also believed in the mission. I invested my own money. I even convinced my late brother, Marques Farrell, to invest. I brought friends and family to the table. Although we promoted a message of hope and access to the public, behind the scenes, the company environment was hostile and filled with racism, religious indoctrination, Scientology dogma, and a deeply concerning lack of financial transparency. On March 28th, 2024, the founder and CEO, Joe Cicala, made racially offensive remarks to 3 Black male employees, including myself. Michaela Arrington, the senior VP of HR, who is also a Scientologist, was also in attendance. Michaela. The idea that Michaela Arrington is the senior VP of HR for a company that intends to operate as a stock exchange is mind-blowing. Michaela Arrington is a born and raised Scientologist without a proper education and no certifications or HR training of any kind whatsoever, other than the fact that Scientologists tend to feel that if you are trained in L. Ron Hubbard policy, you are essentially an expert in anything. What does Michaela Arrington have anything to do with me or my channel? What's my background with Michaela? Michaela Arrington was a Scientology TikToker who doing videos about Michaela Arrington was some of the earliest high-performing videos that I ever did on this channel when I started uploading every day. Let me just show this real quick. The sound is off. I'm going to go full screen on this. Here is Michaela Arrington doing a TikTok promoting Scientology and me doing a reaction video to it. Michaela Arrington saw my reaction video, took issue with it, and then in typical Scientology fashion, did a attack video on me personally, exposing my crimes for all the reasons that I allegedly got kicked out of Scientology. Spoiler alert, I did not get kicked out of Scientology. And actually, let me play this video. I'm going to go sound on just for a moment, just for fun. This is just for a second. This was several years ago, guys. I'm talking today once again about Scientology TikToker Michaela Arrington. 2 weeks ago, I uploaded a video to my channel called Reacting to TikTok Videos Promoting Scientology. I uploaded this on July 29th. And as of this morning, the video has just over 62,000 views. And I have to thank Michaela for helping to spread the word about this video, for helping to promote my channel. Michaela posted a response video on her own TikTok mentioning me by name, talking about the video, even mentioning details like it being 21 minutes long. Michaela essentially encouraged all of her followers on TikTok to come over to my channel and watch the video, which contains, by the way, highly confidential Scientology information that Scientologists aren't supposed to know this stuff. Scientology doesn't want anyone else in the world reading or listening to this stuff. Okay, fine. Okay. The content of that video isn't important. I just wanted to show you, like, this is Michaela Arrington. She's a former Scientology staff member and was just someone that was promoting Scientology on TikTok. So to hear that she's the senior HR at Dream Exchange or senior VP for HR at Dream Exchange, absolutely hilarious. Okay, we'll get back to the story because, well, pretty shortly, the next character is about to be introduced. Okay, Michaela Arrington, the senior VP of HR, who is also a Scientologist, was also in attendance. We sat there for hours listening to Joe Cicala's angry diatribe about being beaten up by Black people in the Black neighborhood that he grew up in. He also claimed that he could talk to Black people better than we could and boasted that his friends called him the whitest N-word they know. Incredible. After the incident, we wrote reports that were ignored for well over 400 days. When we finally received a response from the legal department, the legal assessment concluded that although the incidents occurred, there was no racial animus. To add insult to injury, we were given only 24 hours to review the 96-page document. In this document, Michaela Arrington, the senior VP of HR, falsely claimed that we left Joe's office smiling, laughing, and hugging him. That is a blatant lie. I want to jump in real quick with a bit of an editorialization. I can only imagine how frustrating it would be for non-Scientologists to work at a private company run, owned, and controlled by a Scientologist that also employs ex-Scientology staff members and ex-Scientology Sea Org members. Because I can tell you from personal experience, meaning I worked at those companies, but I myself was a Scientologist and an ex-Sea Org member at the time that I worked at those companies. As a non-Scientologist, you are the odd man out. Those Scientologists will close ranks around you and lie as easily and as readily as they would as if they were lying for Scientology itself. Jeff Farrell had absolutely no chance whatsoever filing a complaint against Joe Cicala with Michaela Arrington. I don't know if he understood that complaint had absolutely no chance of going anywhere. You might as well have filed the complaint with Joe Cicala himself. Okay. Fast forward in the report. On August 6, 2025, I was interrogated for over 2 hours by Chief Administrative Officer Brian Moxon, a Scientologist. and Assistant General Counsel Stephanie Schaefer, who is not a Scientologist, but has started taking classes. Brian Moxon is a former high-level Scientology Sea Org member. I know him very well. However, he is not quite as famous in the Scientology world as his father, Kendrick Moxon. I've done so many videos mentioning Kendrick Moxon, but the one I'll just show on the screen here is one called Kendrick Moxon's Role in the Danny Masterson Cover-Up. Jeffrey actually is about to mention Brian's father in his own report here, but just for my viewing audience, Kendrick Moxon is a high-level OT8 Scientologist. He is an attorney. He is the only Scientology attorney I know of, meaning an attorney who represents Scientology in many cases, who is himself also a Scientologist and who sent his own kids to go work for Scientology's most dedicated group, the Sea Organization. And it is, of course, Kendrick's own daughter, Stacy Moxon, who, while working for David Miscavige on Scientology's international management base, took her own life and left behind a suicide note. Okay. So Brian Moxon, the VP of administration or whatever, let's see, what was Brian's title here? Brian's title was the Chief Administrative Officer. Brian Moxon is such a dedicated Scientologist that his own sister, Stacy, killed herself while working under David Miscavige at Scientology's international management base, and Brian Moxon has still continued to be a dedicated Scientologist, as has his father, Kendrick Moxon. Keep that in mind. So Jeffrey Farrell had absolutely no chance whatsoever working at this company. Okay, let's go back to this view. Here we go. Okay, he continues on. During this interrogation, I was accused of leaking corporate documents, a claim I firmly denied, as I've never leaked any documents. I reiterated my commitment to the mission, despite the baseless accusations. Okay, this is where he mentions Kendrick. For context surrounding the people who were interrogating me, Brian Moxon is the son of Scientology attorney Kendrick Moxon, and I had previously heard Stephanie refer to another Black female employee who later abruptly resigned from the company as Boone Cretia, a derogatory stereotype often used to insult Black women. I reported this incident to the appropriate individuals at the company, which led to an investigation. Just a quick note. I've never heard this term before. I actually Googled it. I threw it into Google. I also threw it into Grok to see if I could get any information on this term. Is it Boone Cretia or Bound Cretia? Anyway, even my Google search turned up absolutely no results. So I guess this has to be one of those things like, if you know, you know, and if you don't know, you just don't know. Okay, moving on. After the meeting on August 6th, my work computer was confiscated, my email access was cut off, and I was put on leave, once again ignored. Weeks later, on Monday, September 22nd, 2025, holy cow, that's just a few weeks ago. Wow. Brian Moxon called me to inform me that I was being terminated due to a lack of production, a claim that was both false and insulting. This guy, they attacked a whistleblower. They retaliated against a whistleblower. That is what this interrogation about being accused of leaking documents is. Oh, this is bad news for Dream Exchange. Okay. Before my termination, Chief Public Officer Jane Hayton, a Scientologist, actively sabotaged my efforts to connect with the Black community and secure 6- and 7-figure investments. For example, she repeatedly ignored requests to include more Black representatives from the company at various events, despite the importance of showcasing diversity as a minority-owned organization. Instead of addressing the racial issues that were clearly brewing, they scapegoated me and other Black employees, erasing our contributions and even removing our faces from the company website. Even though I had lost hope that the company's atmosphere could ever reflect the values we promoted to the public, I still held on to hope that the company could fulfill its promises to investors by obtaining a license to operate a stock exchange. I made several attempts to seek clarification about the status of the SEC Form 1 application, as investors were increasingly asking questions. On multiple occasions throughout 2024, we were instructed to tell investors and prospective investors verbally but never in writing that documents had been submitted to the SEC, even though the filing did not occur until February 2025. Whenever we asked for more specific details to share, Joe repeatedly claimed that he was waiting on the SEC. We were then directed to assure people verbally, and again, never in writing, that we were close to achieving milestones that in reality had not been reached. The fact that Jeffrey Farrell can testify from firsthand experience, firsthand knowledge, that they, as fundraisers, were ordered to say things verbally, but never put them into writing, hugely problematic for Dream Exchange. This is a big deal. Okay, he continues on. In hindsight, I believe this was done to create the false impression of progress and milestones being achieved as a ruse to secure more money from investors, including my own family members, who I was forced to repeatedly ask for more money. Despite repeated inquiries about progress with the SEC, we were met with evasive responses, and now the company is under investigation, as reported by the Wall Street Journal, Politico, and the New York Post. Many investors have reached out with questions, and to date, they have also been ignored. My experience is part of a larger pattern. As reported in the Wall Street Journal, it is true that some employees receiving salaries from Dream Exchange are working out of the Church of Scientology during business hours. This includes Salvatore Cicala, Joe Cicala's third son, who rarely reports to the Dream Exchange headquarters and instead spends the majority of his time downtown performing work for the Church of Scientology. His older brother, Joey Cicala III, a deputy founder of Dream Exchange, is also the executive director of the Chicago Scientology Church. In 2023, Joey forced a Black female employee in public relations to read Scientology literature out loud against her will in their training room, where they didn't let us bring water bottles or any other items. I have lost 5 years of my life to this so-called dream that turned out to be a complete nightmare. My money is gone, and my late brother's legacy is now tied to something I can no longer stand behind. To potential investors, pause before you invest, ask hard questions, demand transparency about affiliations, governance, and financial practices. Don't allow Joe's words to seduce you. Peek under the hood. I wish I had. Ask him how he became a gold meritorious, which means he's donated more than $1 million to the Church of Scientology. Whose money did he use? To the regulators, please investigate the actions of Dream Exchange, including those of CEO Joe Cicala, Chief Public Officer Jane Hayton, Chief Administrative Officer Brian Moxon, and Chief Regulatory Officer, General Counsel, and Board Member Jim Yong, to prevent further exploitation of families and communities. My only objective is for the truth to come out. I believed in a vision of economic justice and empowerment. Instead, I witnessed deception, retaliation, exploitation, and potentially fraud. By speaking out, I hope to spare others the same pain that my family and I are trying to recover from. Sincerely, Jeffrey Farrell. Yikes. Okay. There you go, guys. It seems to me that is the whistleblower. If that's not the whistleblower, then that means we have even more to come. And honestly, I hope that isn't the whistleblower, because I hope we do have more to come. All right, let's look at some starred comments and we'll wrap up this video. Constance June says, it tells me how small Scientology is when a former knows many of them. Yes, and I would be very interested to know how Joe Cicala came to even know of, how did Brian Moxon even come to be employed at the Chicago-based company? I was in the Sea Org. I mean, Brian Moxon has been in the Sea Org for most of his life. I was in the Sea Org with him in Los Angeles. He was then living here in Clearwater, Florida. And now all of a sudden he's the chief administrative officer for Joe Cicala in Chicago. I mean, because Scientology is so small, it's not like, oh my God, it's so crazy. How could Brian have gotten to Chicago? But I almost wonder if it's something that was arranged by some Scientology higher ups. Who knows? Maybe we'll find out that story some other time. Abigail says, I'm gathering that the objective of this company is to become the Scientology stock exchange. The thing is, Abigail, Scientology is so small that there wouldn't be enough Scientology owned and operated businesses for their listing on the Dream Exchange to really matter. There's only like 25,000 Scientologists in the entire world. Now, many Scientologists work for companies that are owned and operated by other Scientologists, but it's like, Honestly, I think it's really just a vehicle because when Dream Exchange started out, the mission of it was not the original mission was not to be some minority owned, minority controlled stock exchange. It was just to be a new stock exchange. And I think Joe Cicala realized that he needed a real gimmick to go after. He needed a gimmick to market this thing, and he needed a gimmick to raise money. And he just decided, you know what? Instead of saying that this new idea is going to benefit companies that just can't quite afford to get listed on the stock exchange, let's say it's for Black people, because that sounds better than saying it's for poor people. I mean, it really just seems like a gimmick, and it ended up. I don't know if he meant to, if he set out to target the Black community, or if he just decided that's the public he could go to where he would get the best reception to pitch this idea. But it certainly seems that it has simply turned out to be a money raising vehicle, and he chose to target the Black business community with the idea. I do not think it was intended ever or now to be a Scientology stock exchange, because actually that would be an absolute disaster. That would be an absolute disaster. I can tell you, if it turned out that was going to be the idea, I think 10 years from now you would have half the Scientology community tied up in FTC and SEC fraud investigations. So, all right, Scientology crimes. Dream Exchange equals a shady prop firm. Abigail says, she's a Scientologist promoting your videos. It seems like a paradox to me. I was actually sort of trolling Michaela when I said she was promoting my videos. I was pointing out the stupidity of a Scientologist responding to my videos and naming me, because all it does is drive attention to me. It's the same reason that Grant Cardone will never try to sue me, because it would just draw attention to me. So I was pointing out the ridiculousness of her responding to a video where I discussed Scientology's upper level confidential OT3 information. So yeah. Okay, up Mayo. The grip this cult has on its members is mind-blowing. Max's mom, I have heard about Stacy so many times, and it's heartbreaking every time what that poor girl went through. Becky Williamson, it blows my mind all the Scientologists Aaron knows. They must keep people busy, so they move them around so often, so you get to be acquainted with lots of different folks from all over. Actually, it was a little, it was sort of a happy little accident that I spent so much of my time in Scientology in Clearwater, Florida, and then in the Sea Org in Los Angeles. Those are the two biggest hubs of Scientology in the world. And then, of course, Clearwater, Florida, other than just being one of the largest hubs of Scientologists in the world, the flag land base, Scientology's flag land base in Clearwater, Florida, also serves as like an international destination training center for Scientology staff members and Sea Org members from all over the world. So from the 4 years that I spent in Clearwater, I was able to get to know an awful lot of Scientologists from all over the world. And then I spent another 4 years in Los Angeles in the Sea Org there. And Los Angeles isn't a destination training center the way that Clearwater is. But it is the second largest concentration of Scientologists in the world. So between Clearwater and LA, I mean, you just get to know a lot of people. Okay, Old Frizz says, wow, that is a bombshell public statement. Abigail says, this video will be a tremendous help in getting that company shut down. Well done, Aaron. SA says, in South Africa, it is commonplace for many high-flying Scientologists to be involved in all sorts of shady business deals and businesses as fronts for funding the cult, the IAS, and Ideal Orgs. Absolutely. And I'm glad you mentioned that, because that really is what this company has become. I think some of the evidence for that is I've been contacted by people who personally know Joe, and because I think I described him as wealthy or rich or something like that. And they said, just so you know, Joe's broke. Why is Joe broke? Because he's taking every dollar and cent he can scrape from everywhere he can get it legitimately, possibly illegitimately, and he's turning it all over to Scientology. Joe broke. Max's mom, I hope this puts Scientology in the center of this investigation. I hope it does too. The fact that Joe Cicala runs Dream Exchange, the fact that his son, Joe Cicala III, Joey, runs Scientology in Chicago and is also somehow on the payroll of Dream Exchange. I'm sorry. How does that work? Dream Exchange works during normal business hours. The Church of Scientology of Chicago Day also operates during normal business hours. How can you run the Scientology org in Chicago and work at Dream Exchange at the same time? Spoiler alert, you can't do it. Joe Cicala gave his own son a no-show job, like a mobster, like a union, like a deal between the unions and the mob. In this analogy, which one is the union? Which one is the mob? Which one is Scientology? Scientology's the mob who demanded that the union give their executive director a no-show job. Except the union and the mob are run by the same family. Wait a second. This analogy is perfect. Oh, my goodness. Okay, guys, that's all I have on Dream Exchange for now. Thanks for hanging out with me. Stay tuned for more. I'll talk to you guys soon.
Okay, if you want to see my rock and roll songs, click right on this guitar. And if you want to see a different one of my videos, then you could click right